What's up, everybody? TJ here. Real quick before we get started with the episode, I'm testing out a new feature called Fan Mail, which is where you can actually text me from the episode that you're listening to. So as you're listening to this, go over to the episode description, and right there at the beginning, you're going to see some text that says, send me a text message. Go ahead, click that. Let me know what you think about the podcast so far. Let me know of any questions, concerns, anything you might have. I love to hear from you. So go ahead, hit that up. I'm excited to read your text, and let's get started with the episode.
Welcome to the Keep the Promise podcast, where we help build resilient and well-rounded firefighters.
So let's go back a little bit, rewind to cancer. Talk to me about firefighter cancer consultants. You've been all over the place. Is it safe to say sharing your story? Educating, all of the above? Enacting change? What is it that you're, bebopping around throughout the world doing?
So when I got kicked out of the FCSN, I really thought I had, there's options out there. There's another cancer group that I probably could have joined. But when it all came down to it, it was, I kind of wanted to be my own boss, because at least that way, nobody's going to fire me or kick me out. So it was almost in regard to that, but at the same time, so I should say too, so before I did that, and it's weird when you really think back and you realize that things that may have at the time seemed like it sucked actually helped out later on. And I'll give you the example is I tore my ACL, and I've done that 3 times. But I tore my ACL. I'm on light duty at work, and I asked the district chief at that time if I could just focus on doing cancer prevention stuff instead of the usually mundane, light duty roles of paperwork and errands and all that kind of stuff. Like, let me actually do something I care about. And so just by doing that, and really, was the inception, and I didn't realize it at the time, of what I was going to be doing next, and actually being able to do the same thing for other departments. So I think the other thing is when I did stuff with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network, it was great, but it was so, just the magnitude of what we were talking about. It got out there, but it was all very generic. It was like, these are the roles that we did the FCSM white paper in 2013, and it had like the 11 steps to prevent cancer. And those are great, but they were all very generic. So it may not, what's in Howard would not be the same for Dayton and everything else. So the idea was with the firefighter cancer consultants was to actually get engrossed in that individual department, figure out what they do on a fire scene, and also back at the firehouse regarding all these cancer items, and really give them this report and this presentation that's just shares their current practices compared to the best practices for reducing firefighter cancer. So, all that stuff is based off of NFPA standards and different science that's out there, so they know that I'm not just making stuff up and going, hey, do this. And it really just gives that department the opportunity to know where they stand and what they need to work on. What's the low hanging fruit? What are the items that they can implement right away that are low in cost or just procedural? And then they also have the big ticket items, the capital items, sometimes that they have to get, whether it's an exhaust system or even just logistically difficult items of something that we all should be doing, but we suck at it. And that's wearing our SCBAs for overhaul. That's our biggest exposure we get, but yet most of us a lot of times aren't wearing our mask. It's all clear. Well, no, it's not. So, just talking about that kind of stuff. So, initially when I would go out and teach, like I didn't have really the personal story that was involved. So a lot of times I played, I'm not sure if you've ever seen it before, but it's a tremendous video. It's by the Boston guys, and it's where we have the wall of all the firefighters that have succumbed to cancer, and they have their families talking, and it's just a super powerful video. And it really brings it home. It personalizes it. It talks about the big picture. And I know I already mentioned before that what's the point of doing this if we're just going to, retire and die? Because that's what happens. Cancer has a latency period of 10, 15, 20, 25 years before it shows up, from our exposures. And unlike, I also like to use if we're at that fire and we throw up a ladder and we fall off that ladder and we break our ankle, it is very obvious when, how, and where we broke our ankle. But it's not that way with cancer. Like, I don't know how I got my cancer. I have no idea. I can guess, but I'm not really sure. So it's because of that, we have to do everything we possibly can and just hope that we don't get cancer. But if we do, we hope that we catch an earlier stage. So, and that's kind of what I do with, all the departments now. But instead of playing that Boston video, now that I have my own story, I share my own story. And so that kind of does the personalized portion of it. I'd rather not be part of this club and have to do that, but the fact that I am and I'm doing okay, like I do feel like I caught my cancer, I caught it early, I'm in a good place, and that allows me to continue to share that message. And essentially it's kind of like what I've realized my whole career to be is don't be like me. That's kind of the gist of it, the summary. Don't be like me. Learn from my mistakes. Don't do these mistakes yourself. Learn from my mistakes and be better because of that.
And that goes into, I think, the goal that we have of leaving this place better than we found it. The stories are more poignant when they're personal, when I can grab that young firefighter and say, listen, you're about to make this mistake. This is how I know because I've made that mistake. I'm imploring you, don't do it. These are the consequences. This is what you're going to be facing. Take this lesson from me. I paid for it in blood, and you don't have to pay anything if you just listen to me.
Exactly.
And it's funny you mentioned the not wanting to be part of that club. I've referred to that. I don't want to make this about me, but like when it comes to line of duty deaths, I've told people that once that happens, you are part of a horrible, horrible club, but that sort of helps amplify your voice. So it's interesting. You and I think very similarly, and sometimes creepily use the same words.
We're both pretty good looking, so we got that going for us too.
I mean, hell yeah.
I mean,
I just
for all those just listening and not watching it, we are handsome gentlemen.
Rugged, handsome, stunning, maybe. I can post a picture.
Little hairy, but
not where it counts because we're both balding. This is bullshit.
I have a great cap collection.
I don't think you were wearing a cap when you were here in DC? I don't think so. I don't think any of the space shuttle pictures.
No, I don't think so. I had them in my bag. I did just buy a hat rack. I mean, if that tells you my size of my cap collection.
Look at you, fancy pants.
I know.
Now, is it baseball hats? Is it the little crush caps? Or is it a little bit of everything?
It's the little, the Andy Cap kind of caps. The hipster, I'm with the beard, the glasses, the caps. Like I'm just really hoping for a pipe for Christmas at this point. And then my transformation will be complete.
I feel like you would be judging me for not drinking an obscure IPA. Like once you get the cap and the pipe, you are going to be judging me for not drinking some like organic,
yes,
like vegan.
I only eat cheeseburgers if they're over $20.
Yo, I hit up some burger joint when I was there for the conference, and it was amazing. I forget what it was, but the eating, like the food in your area, money. That pizza joint we hit up, like the whole group of us went to after what was it, like Thursday night? I forget what it was.
Pies and Pints. Yeah.
Pies and Pints. Yeah, Pies and Pints. And then
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then we went to that. It's called the Pub, I think it is.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I thought the bartender was going to kill us because Burns from Massachusetts sits down and asks for a Miller Lite bottle. And the bartender, like, I was nearby and I took some splash damage because the dagger she shot at him, I was like, yo, I don't know her. I haven't said a word, but I kind of want to leave because I feel attacked as well.
So, but think about even... like you and I and Steph are at the Airspace Museum, and just the giddiness, the excitement that I had, and I think you shared it as well, when we realized a Shake Shack was actually part of that. Oh my God.
Right. Genius business move.
Yes.
I felt like I was a kid again at the Air and Space Museum, and then, now I want burgers and a shake. I feel like I'm a kid. I'm so excited. Yeah, I need to go back and do an eating tour of Dayton and Exotic with a XXX, Beaver Creek, Ohio, even though the next conference is going to be, you gotta figure out something for the exotic part of this next year's conference, but
we're still going to call it Exotic Beaver Creek because I think that name actually has recognition now. And like as silly as that sounds, like people actually know, like that's how they say Beaver Creek. You going to Beaver Creek? You going to Beaver Creek? I'll be at Beaver Creek. It's crazy, but that's how it is. So, and Xenia just doesn't have the same ring to it.
But Xenia does sound pretty freaking exotic.
Everybody's like Xenia, like the warrior princess.
Right, that's the first thing I thought. Scantily clad women with swords.
Lucy Lawless. Maybe that.
Oh, never forget. All right, perfect segue. Brothers helping brothers. What is Brothers helping brothers all about?
That's
and if you say Brothers helping brothers, I'm canceling. Like I'm just stopping this right now.
It's funny because our keynote this year, Frank Lieb. He actually calls it brothers helping brothers and sisters. Like he added in the sister part, which it should be. But that's Nick's baby. That's his nonprofit that he started after one of his fellow firefighter coworkers ended up passing from actually of all things the H1N1 flu, and they started this organization with the idea of supplying rural fire departments with just supplies. These volunteer places, they're scraping by, and that's Nick's friend who passed was like the guy who would grab everything and refurbish it and still try to be able to use it because you're just, you just don't have the funds. So the idea behind Brothers Helping Brothers is really just helping those firefighters out with those rural departments. But another branch of that is kind of the educational, the training piece. Nick would tell you that he struggled. Like they made him an officer at his department, and it was kind of like what I was telling you earlier with the FCSN. Like, hey, you made it. And he's like, "What do I do?" And they're like, "Do what you think you should do." There was no direction. There was no training. Like all of a sudden now, and you get this as an officer, like you're responsible for people more than just you. And that's a lot. And so, Nick realized that the trainings that were out there were pretty costly and the department wasn't able to pay for them. So he had to come out of his own pocket for that. So when he did this conference, the idea was always like, let's do this and do this to where, if departments pay for you, then fine, cool, awesome. But like, we shouldn't have a price in which, somebody can't come out of their own pocket and attend training and make themselves better. So, and we've been able to maintain that mindset throughout. And it's really the reason why we ended up moving things this year. To stay at the same place, we would have had to raise cost. And that was unacceptable for us. So we found a place that gives us the freedom and allows us to maintain that low cost. I mean, $75 for 3 days with who we're bringing, like there's nobody, and I mean nobody that can touch that. It isn't out there. And that's, I think, part of the reason, a big part of that is Nick and I don't get paid anything. We're, suckers for that kind of stuff. But, everything we get is just to keep the cost at a minimum so people can attend and they can attend it, and bring everything back to their department, but also just more than anything, just better themselves. And that's, this year will be our 7th year doing it. I think we got the formula down. I'm hoping that people will still follow us, even if we're in a different building, and we're able to go. And it's a weird vibe. And you were there, like we cover heavy stuff. But at the same time, there's a lightness to it. I mean, I think it's because it's just not stuffy. We don't take ourselves seriously at all. Like we actually have themes, and then this coming year is going to be, I think our favorite theme is going to be pro wrestling theme, because Nick and I mean, we're both adult children, basically. We still love pro wrestling, and so we're kind of like, let's put our two loves together and be over the top and be ridiculous. Still have heaviness, but again, have fun as we do it for a affordable rate. And I'll shut up there and let you talk.
Why me? You're the guest here. Dude, when I went to register and I saw the cost, I'm like, there's no way. This is a typo. Like this is 100% wrong that they're charging so little, and so little for the quality of speakers. You would be hard pressed to find, I mean, big names in the game. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I was fangirling over James Gearing because the dude has been doing his podcast for forever, and then Ben Vernon, and then Brent McDonough, and I'm rubbing out like Elijah Bowman. I'm sitting there and he's showing me his like super fancy badass non-iPad tablet, and we're geeking out about stickers and podcasts and film. And I'm looking around, I was like, dude, there's like nowhere else on earth where I'll be surrounded by this quality of people without having to pay an arm and a leg. Like, think of something as big as FDIC. Yeah, you're going to be surrounded by those people, but it's not going to be in such an intimate setting. It was irreverent. It was fun. At some point, you took the mic and you said, hey, we're supposed to be doing X, Y, or Z, but fuck it. It's my conference. We're changing things up a bit. And that's when I was like, you know what? This is my crowd. Like, these are my people. The fact that they can change things on the fly and be uncaring about it and drop an F-bomb. And I'm like, yeah, this is not the stuffy crowds that I have grown to hate. And I forget where I was going. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I had a great time with everything. We did that podcast where I have to have a class on podcasting with Nick and with Sean, because they kept slamming the table to make a point, and every time they did, the microphones would vibrate. I would listen to the audio and I just wanted to like throw my headphones across the room. But all in all, it's a breath of fresh air. It covers, like you said, the heavy topics. There were some, like Brandon McDonough's, I started reliving a lot of things that I'm like, I need to walk away. So there are things that get covered that are heavy. And but also you walk outside and you're talking to John from Rescue One and you're shooting the shit, or you just the photo booth stuff. I think I'm the reason it cost you guys so much, because I took hundreds and hundreds of pictures in that photo booth, just being an absolute lunatic. It's it feels like a firehouse. It feels like you are learning stuff at a firehouse with your friends. I can't speak enough about the conference. I'm definitely fangirling. And maybe I think, you know what? Fuck it. I just gave away a scholarship for a conference here in Frederick. I'm going to do the same thing for your conference. Maybe if I can't afford to fly them, maybe I'll stuff them in my suitcase and bring them out. But I want people to go out there and experience that. Hey friends, I want to take a quick moment to ask you to support the show by leaving a rating and a review on your favorite platform. Your support means the world to us, and it helps spread the message to even more people. We've gotten thousands and thousands of listeners, and those high ratings help our show become more discoverable, allowing us to reach even more listeners and make an even greater impact. So, if you've enjoyed what you heard so far, please take a moment to leave a rating and a review. It only takes a few seconds, and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the show.
Hey, random stranger, hop in the back. Let's go to Beaver Creek.
Let's go to exotic Beaver Creek. This year there's going to be wrestling and there's going to be horses, and if we're lucky, a white Bronco.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. I don't know what AC's doing yet. He hasn't got back to me. You know, the second year we did the conference, I could tell you, I for whatever reason, I had this attitude, and I think Nick still wants to beat me up for it, but I said, let's be professional. Let's show that we're legitimate.
Were you high when you said that?
Yeah. I mean, probably. Regrets? I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I wanted to be compared to an FDIC or Firehouse Expo or Fire Chiefs or whatever else. And we, in that second year, we wore suits and I mean, it just throughout the process, I was like, this is dumb. This is not me. I did not feel comfortable. And Nick definitely didn't feel comfortable. And I think when we met that next week to go over everything and figure out what we're going to do next year, it was very quickly all right, I'm sorry. That was a dumb thing. Let's never, ever, ever do that again. And with that, so again, now it's super casual. We dress up however we want. And the rest of the conference, that whole attitude, we realize we're not trying to compete against these other big guys. We are different. We're the alternative, when you go to FDIC, and I spoke at FDIC this year, I'm part of the fire engineering world, but it's 35,000 people, and that intimacy is not there. The opportunity to really talk to instructors it's just not there. And beyond that, it's super expensive. It's expensive to buy a pass to see all the classes. It's expensive to stay there. I mean, $300 a night for a hotel room in Indy. That's hard to do. And they also FDIC, fire engineering, all these places, they are very tactic heavy, and tactics have its place, and that's fine, but that's not what we do. We are on the wellness track. And so what we've realized is the people that have the same mindset as us, that share that kind of, they're in the health and wellness world. They make this voyage to exotic Beaver Creek, where it's not easy to get to. It's not a big city. Most places, if you're flying, you're getting a layover somewhere. But they make the trek, because I think they just realize, and again, these people come again each year because they realize the value. It's worth the money. It's worth their time. That's another thing. Whenever I go someplace, I want to make sure it's worth my time. If I go away somewhere, it's creating a hardship at home. So it has to be worthwhile for the time and for the money. And so I think we are able to check those boxes for people. They realize they're going to come here and they're going to learn a lot. They're going to make great networking connections, because again, we're all like-minded people. And that's the thing in this whole business. nobody has to necessarily come up with something. Like, we all share stuff. If you're, I was a wellness coordinator for Dayton. Well, at that last conference, there's the wellness coordinator for Cincinnati. There it is for Columbus. There's Indianapolis. Like we did really good at networking and sharing stuff. And also they were all my phone of friends. Like, everybody needs those phone of friends. And a good way to learn those phone of friends is by going to this conference. Because again, it's so intimate.
Yeah, and the networking is easy. You go to big events. You go to, we keep talking about FDIC out here in Miami. I mean, there's all the stuff up and down the East Coast. Firehouse used to be in Baltimore before things got a little gangster and they had to leave. And trying to network there is impossible. It is like it. I feel like I am back in some sort of corporate America, like a life that I never wanted, trying to do my elevator pitch. Like, that's not my jam. I would rather, again, sit there with Elijah Bowman and talk about Burned and then talk about the tablet and geek out on stickers. Or, who was the guy from Orlando? Jeff Orange, I think it was.
Yeah.
Again, a guy that otherwise I would have had to have business cards and all this stuff. I'm like, hey, bro, here's some things I want to ask you about. Here's my story, and let's chat. And it's just so it's chill. It's chill. And again, you open up a can of worms that unfortunately we cannot delve into. But I want to have you back to talk about peer teams and the whole peer environment. But also, I'm going to have you back to talk about your perspective, because you said that anytime you go into any of these events, at any time you partake in these conferences, you go away, it wreaks havoc at home. And that is something that we don't explore enough when it comes to the conference circuit, when it comes to doing stuff on a national and international level. So this is my super shady way of hooking you in for a next episode. But before we get into,
you better add a zero to my pay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, bro, I already gave you all the stickers, so I'm going to have to come up with more KTP swag to send your way. That, or you know what? No, the trip to the International Spy Museum next time you're up here, that's going to be on me.
I'm game.
What we should do is the Spy Museum and then an escape room. I feel like we'd have so much fun doing those two things.
But we got to do the spy room ahead of time in case we get any pointers. It gives us in a mindset.
Yes, 100%. Be like, where'd you guys get C4? Like, oh, next door to the Spy Museum. We don't know if it works, but it might blow a wall.
It's just, we thought it was bubble gum.
I actually had that conversation with one of the captains at work. He's like, I'm really shadily walking around the firehouse with my buddy Josh. And he's like, where did you guys get all those fireworks? And I'm holding them like all guiltily, like, definitely not my locker.
Nice.
So, looking ahead, what are your goals for this crazy ride? I was going to say in the realm of firefighting, in the realm of mental health, but just what are Jim's goals in the next few years?
Oh, goodness. This is another tangent, but when you retire, a lot of people lose their sense of purpose. And that is so important, like to not lose that, and really just to pivot and do things differently, but still be relevant and still have that purpose. It's the ones that kind of retire that don't do anything that a lot of times don't do well. They get lost in a bottle. They get depressed. All those runs finally show up, and have issues dealing with it. So I'm just still trying to just have a purpose and still give to, the fire service. But I just have accepted that it's going to be different than it was beforehand. and it's a lot of this stuff is just maintaining what I've already been doing. Like I still want to do the consulting for the cancer stuff. I still want to do the webcast, and just continue to get information out. The biggest thing I've been working on is a book, autobiography, with my sister. I've just basically, since my boys and her kids started school back in August, usually each morning we sit down on a Zoom and I just tell her stories and she just writes and we go back and forth. And we've got really good bones of that book. Like we've got definitely the base, and I don't even know what draft we're on now, but it's getting there, and getting that book out there with the idea of, again, kind of like what we mentioned earlier, learn from my mistakes. Don't make the same thing. Like it's, to me, it's still going to be a resource guide, even though it's essentially my story, but a lot of it is the don't do what I did kind of stuff. Beyond that, I know my application is in with the International to be a peer support instructor. Unfortunately, I missed the deadline this year, but hopefully I'll be considered next year. And that'll be my getting out and about and teaching as well. And still just staying out there. And beyond that, I'm flexible. Like I don't really know where I'm going to go with all this stuff. And that's okay. Like I was such the guy that I had to know the next moves. I had to know like what direction I was going in. And I've let all that go, and I've really let just things happen and happen naturally. And, that is, as hard as it was, it's been great. And so I'm busy, but I'm not swamped, and I definitely can still prioritize things. And I joke, I tell everybody that the key to work-life balance is retiring. But that has been true to me, not having to do all that stuff in Dayton and just being able to focus on this other stuff, and also having the ability, this is a big one, having the ability to say no. That is not something that I have been good at. And whenever you say yes to something, you have to realize you're saying no to something. And, that's my buddy, Dr. Donnie, talking there, who will be at our conference next year. You can check it out at exoticbeavercreek.com. Shameless plug. I got to get it in there. But I think that's it. I'm just kind of rolling with things, and I'm having fun. And I finally could tell you, I feel kind of back to myself. It's taken a long time, but, I'm enjoying life again.
I have nothing to follow up to that. That was solid. Final question.
Complete bullshit, all of it. Not really.
Oh, you're a good bullshitter then, because you had me fooled. No, I like the part about saying no and reframing a yes as saying no to so many other things. We can get caught up in the hustle and bustle of just improving and succeeding and doing projects and all of those things, me included. I'm a fan of starting businesses and like structuring them in my head, and then a couple months later being like, oh no, why don't I have time? And everyone around is just like, seriously, you absolute moron, because you couldn't say no to this stupid opportunity. You should have just said no and like prioritize your life. And we know a lot of people who are the same way, who just burn out because they do so much. So I really like that bit. And yeah, again, I have to have you back because you left me with more questions. That's a good guess. That's that gift that keeps on giving, and not the kind of exotic gift that you get from gifts that keep on giving. The question that I didn't put in the list: what is the one failure that you cherish the most?
Oh, TJ, shit, man. You're hitting me with a deep question, though. I gotta think. What is the failure that I cherish the most?
Correct.
This is going to sound bizarre, but probably getting cancer. Like, to me, I failed all the stuff I talked about, all the preventative measures that I preach about. it still wasn't enough to prevent me from getting cancer. And you can label that as being naive. I didn't know when I started a lot of this stuff. I learned it after I've already had years of experience of doing things the wrong way. But the fact that I did end up getting cancer really, in a weird way, got my shit together. Like you when you get diagnosed, you just end up, all of a sudden you're finally able to focus and truly prioritize things. And I think I was running amok beforehand, super busy, and a lot of my choices were not really, in the grand scheme of things, the best choices to make. And I'm what I mean by that is just, I wasn't doing anything bad, but just I wasn't always putting my family first. I certainly wasn't putting myself first. And when you get that diagnosis, as much as it sucked and as much as you think you screwed up because you got it, like, it was a matter of, this is a second opportunity to get things right, and you better make the best out of it. So, yeah, as weird as that sounds, I think that even though it sucked at the time, I can look at it now and go, that made me ultimately better.
Hey everybody, TJ here. I hope you enjoyed both of these episodes with Jim. He has turned out to be an awesome friend, a great source of wisdom, and has shown us time and again that he's that force to be reckoned with when it comes to firefighter health and wellness. So hopefully this gave you a bit of insight into where he's come from, where he's going, and the amazing things that he's doing. And most importantly, I hope that it sort of lit a fire under you to go to the Health and Wellness Conference. And if you can't do that, to start taking those steps that you can at home within your department to make life better for those who wear the uniform with you. So I'm thankful to Jim. This was an awesome time. We chat all the time. We bounce ideas off each other, and he's going to be back here. I'll be back at the conference. He's going to fast become one of those good friends of the show. Let's move on to some admin stuff. As you know, at the end of every episode, we do a special shout out to our patrons who have pledged to be part of the online community. If this is your first time listening, the online community, the whole point is to help build those resilient, well-rounded firefighters to actually put our money where our mouth is. So you get a daily workout once a week. You get a sort of mindset meditation mantra. It's a way to refocus and redirect your energies towards a successful week. There's also an exclusive mini podcast where we share trainings, where we share upcoming events, where we talk about the fundraisers. We've given away money for scholarships for a handful of conferences. Also given money to Line of Duty Death fundraisers. And basically anything that we would share at the firehouse, but now this is on an international level, you're going to find within the community. If you're interested, hit up joinkeepthepromise.com and you'll get all the deets there. Again, joinkeepthepromise.com. But without further ado, let's give a shout out to our most recent members. Shout out goes to Neil from Jackson, Missouri, Clayton from Elizabeth, Colorado, Justin from St. Robert, Missouri, and Evan from Glen, Mississippi. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for believing in what we do. Thank you for joining this amazing community. There's a lot of amazing things on the horizon, and I cannot wait to share them with you. I kind of have to play my cards close for the time being because there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work going on. But 2024 is going to be incredible, and we'll be able to do even greater things for the fire service as a whole. So Neil, Clayton, Justin, and Evan, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, dear listener, for taking the time to listen to this episode. Tune in 2 weeks for another episode. Be good. Be safe. Bye-bye. Hey, everyone. It's TJ here from Keep the Promise. As you know, this podcast is all about helping firefighters become more resilient and well-rounded so that they can be a force for good within their fire department and their community. But today, I want to talk to you about something that's just as important, and that is supporting firefighters who are going through tough times. When one of our fellow firefighters is off work because they have to go to the Center for Excellence, they have to go to rehab, they have mental health issues, or they have other health issues, it really takes away their support system and it wreaks havoc on their finances and their family's finances. And many times, these brothers and sisters are left to struggle alone, away from their support system and the people who love them without the resources they need to recover. That's why I'm setting a bold new goal. That is to reach 150 total patrons on Patreon so that we can start a fund to help firefighters and their families during these challenging times. And I need your help to make it happen. With your support on Patreon, we'll be able to provide financial assistance to firefighter families who are battling things like addiction, depression, and cancer. We're going to help alleviate the financial strain that can come with being away from the fire department so that our brothers and sisters can focus on healing and recovering. Now, reaching 150 total patrons is a big goal, but I believe that we can do it together. And when we do, we'll be able to make a real difference in the lives of those who serve and protect alongside us. So, if you're not already a patron, I invite you to join us today. Head over to joinkeepthepromise.com and sign up today. Again, that is joinkeepthepromise.com. And if you already are a patron, thank you so much for your support. You'll be receiving some exclusive rewards and perks as a way of saying thanks. Together, let's show our fellow firefighters that we've got their back just like they always have ours. Thank you for listening. Let's get started with the episode.